Welcome back to the Morristown Market Report. I'm Amy Schrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Union Home Mortgage.
And our special guests today are Jamie and Chase. They're here from the Little Dutch.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here.
Well,
Thank you for having us.
All right. So most people, if they live in Morristown, know about the Little Dutch, but you know, we may have people watching who aren't from here originally.
Right.
They don't know the rich history of the Little Dutch. So can you share with us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. Y'all know as well as I do that there's a lot of people that just moved here. And,
There are.
and the real estate market's been booming, but the Little Dutch has been there since 1939. It was opened by Frank and Maddie Loreno, who actually had owned several restaurants. And that was, I think they owned either one or two when they opened the Little Dutch.
Okay.
Maddie ran one and Frank ran the other one, and Frank ran the Little Dutch. And it was first opened as a 24-hour-a-day cafe, and they were open 24/7. And the word is, we were talking about stories a while ago. There's an interesting story about the first time he decided he wanted to close for Christmas on Christmas Day. He realized about halfway through the shift on Christmas Eve that he didn't have any locks on the doors because the Little Dutch had never been left unattended.
Right.
So he had to call a locksmith to have him come down and put a lock on the door because he had no locks on the door.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of those stories. And you know, it's like Harold Reed, the Statler brothers used to say, "Do you want the truth or do you want a good story?"
Yeah, that's right.
I have no idea if it's the truth or just a good story, but it is certainly a good story for sure.
All right. So it went from being a 24-hour-a-day cafe to what is the Little Dutch today?
Right now, we're open from 11 to 7:30 Monday through Thursday. We're open from 11 to 8:30 on Friday and from 4 to 8:30 on Saturday.
Okay.
And we're closed on Sunday, and we're closed most major holidays: July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day, New Year's Day, and then of course we get Thanksgiving, Easter, all that. So we're closed a lot of the holidays.
Okay.
Which is unheard of in the restaurant business. So when I took it, I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many July 4ths I've had off in my life, or Memorial Day, or Labor Day, or anything. Because when you're in the restaurant business, most restaurants are open 7 days a week. And so when I came to the Little Dutch and George and I were talking, you know, I just thought it was the greatest thing ever, because it's just not something you get in the restaurants.
Well, I'm sure your workers appreciate that. That's definitely a benefit to working for you that they wouldn't get at another
It
place.
is. I mean, it's definitely a perk, and there's no doubt. Like we usually close the week of the 4th, so we're closed this week, which we use it as we take an opportunity to do some cleaning and some stuff like that. I let people volunteer if they want to come in and do some cleaning. They're welcome to do that, and we usually try to take on at least one. I say major project, but just one project that we can't do when we're open for business. So this week's the parking lot. So if you come to Little Dutch next week, you'll have a brand new striped parking lot to drive on. So.
Awesome. All right. So what kind of a menu does the Little Dutch offer?
It's mostly like American food, but we do some specialty Italian dishes: chicken parm, veal parm, eggplant parm. We have a really good ribeye. Our fillets are fantastic. Our chicken is moist. Our pork chops are out of this world. I mean, I could sit and talk about the food all day long because there's only one thing on the menu that I don't particularly like, and that's liver. But we do have beef liver, and we sell a surprising a lot of it, actually.
Really?
Yeah, a few months ago, I was driving into work to drop off paychecks because I was off that day, and John Gilliam with the Citizen Tribune calls me and goes, "Hey, Jamie, are you here at the restaurant?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'm on my way, but I'm not." I'm sitting here in shorts, a t-shirt. I was working around the house, and don't laugh. I was working. So he says, "Well, Rick Barnes is sitting at the next table over from me," and he said, "This might be a good opportunity for you." So I go in, and sure enough, there sits Rick. He was with the CEO of CNC Millwright. They brought him by, and
Wow.
Jerry's he's a good customer, and so I was surprised to see him, obviously. But he goes, "Yeah," he said, "I'm going to bring my wife up. I want to try that liver." He said, "I love liver." And I'm like, it must be something about basketball coaches, because Coach Carlisle at Walter State eats the liver almost every time he comes in.
Really?
Sure does.
Cool.
Sure does. I'm like, Coach, I'll keep it for you. You don't have to worry about me coming and sneaking a bite off your plate for sure.
I hear you. All right. So, what do you think the Little Dutch offers people in the form of dining that they're not going to get at these chain restaurants that seem to be popping up everywhere?
A quiet atmosphere. We generally play Frank Sinatra 24/7. He's on even when we're not open. He's on. He's filling the halls with Sinatra, and what that does is that allows you to carry on a normal conversation with somebody because you don't have to talk over the music.
Right.
You don't have to, and even when we're busy and full, you can hear the chatter of people, but you and I could still have a conversation at a normal voice. You don't have to talk over.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the things, and our food. I mean, everything practically is from scratch. I started joking around when I first took it, because it surprised me when I first came in and started having to learn all this stuff. I mean, we boil our own chickens for our chicken salad, so we use that broth to make our chicken and rice soup with. I mean, we make our own water, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. And it keeps us busy, and it keeps us busy. But that is another thing. I mean, the stuff that we get does not come from a can.
Everything's great, but I haven't tried the liver, but
Yeah.
I'll leave it for the coaches.
Just take my word for it. They say it's good.
That's right.
They say it's good.
Okay.
So I'm taking their word for it. For
So,
sure.
how long have you been a part of the Little Dutch?
It'll be 4 years this coming October.
Okay.
So time has flown. I have to tell you. I talk with George about weekly.
Now, for people
he's
who
in
don't
town.
know, George
Angelos. He bought the Little Dutch. I'm thinking 1976.
74.
So it was 74.
That's what your website says.
That's right, because Frank passed away in 73. So George and Tommy, his brother, bought it in 74. And they had it until I took it over in 2019.
Awesome.
And it was George and his wife Nina, and super people. I mean, I've been blessed throughout my career because when I started in the food business, I was at Pizza Inn and I waited tables there when I was 18, and I started waiting tables. I've washed dishes, I've cooked, I did everything, and went into management. And I've had the opportunity to work under some great operators who have taught me the business. So hopefully this guy right here will take it over here in about 10 years, and I'll be able to back out a little bit and enjoy semi-retirement for a while. So that's what I'm hoping for.
All right. So, what can you tell us about Dutch at the Dock?
So Dutch at the Dock, we serve typical bar grill type food. So we serve everything like chicken tenders, cheeseburgers. We do Philly cheesesteaks. Those are probably our 3 biggest sellers. We also have some seafood options. So we have popcorn shrimp. This year we have fish and chips. So we started doing a cod fish and chips.
That's done
With
really
that,
well.
it's done well. We have oysters. We do fried oysters. And we also have some, outlier things on the menu. Like we have some Southwest egg rolls. A lot of people haven't given them a try yet. And I try to persuade people to try them out because they're really good.
They're good.
We do pizzas. So yeah, we serve a variety of different things. Appetizers you would get at any general restaurant, like cheese sticks, fried mushrooms, those kinds of things. We sell those as well. So.
All right. And where exactly is Dutch at the Dock located?
It's at the Fall Creek Marina and Campground. It's on the east end of town. I'm not really good at explaining it, but over sort of where Russellville Primary is, you take that road, take that left down there, and then
off 3 Springs.
off 3 Springs, yeah, and then you get on Fall Creek Road, and then you'll find your way out there once you get that far.
GPS will get you.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
GPS helps for sure.
For sure.
All right. So, what days are you all open there, and what are your hours?
We're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then July 4th, we're open for holidays. So we were open for Memorial Day, July 4th, and we'll be open for Labor Day as well. So we do Friday, we're open from 5 to 9. Saturday, we're open from 12 to 8, and then Sunday, we're open from 12 to 5. And then on holidays, we usually do 12 to 5 as well. So.
Okay. Good deal.
I've heard that's great food too. The pizza I've heard is really good too.
I love our pizza.
Yeah.
Love our pizza.
You know I couldn't pass it.
I understand.
You can't.
You just can't get away from it.
Well, I can, and I was asked when I took over the Little Dutch, when are you going to put a pizza on the menu? and which we're not really equipped to do it, but they are out there, and it is really good. It is really good.
Now, y'all open year round out there, or just in the season?
No, we're only open in the summer, so we do Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay.
So that's when we're open.
About 3 months. It works out to about 3 months.
Okay. I understand about when the lake's open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, it's up a little bit this year, but I'd like it to be up another six feet. But we didn't.
Well, with the rain we got the past 2 weeks, I could tell it had come up.
It did come
Come
up.
up a
It
little
did
bit
come
more.
up. I'd like to get that other 6 feet, but you know, it is what it is, and we can't tell the TVA what to do. You know.
No, we cannot, and we can't tell the weather what to do. So we just have to
That's
take
true.
what we get.
And I found out there the threat of rain is just as bad as rain
Yes,
out there.
it is. 100%.
I mean, it could. If they're calling for 50 or 60% chance of rain, you can forget it. If it blows around us, you can still forget it.
Yeah.
People
Because
have already made other
plans.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So of course we can't talk about the Little Dutch without talking about Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. I will tell you, I've met him once. Callista comes in a lot more than Harrison does, but I've met him one time, and he was super. He was just a super person, and just completely unassuming. No, I'll tell you, when he comes in, and I can always tell when he's in town too, because we'll deliver to Kay at her house because she's getting up there in age, but we'll deliver, and we can always tell when he's in town. So he gets salmon and steamed broccoli with no spice. He wants no seasoning, no oil, no nothing on it. And so when I met him, it was funny because he was there with Callista's dad, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Harrison." And I'm like, "No duh." And he says, "Hey, this salmon is fantastic." He said, "Some of the best I've had." And he said, "I've got a bottle of wine out in the car." He said, "You care if I bring that in?" Dude, you're Harrison Ford. Bring whatever you want. Exactly. So, but just unassuming, and just the way he took care of Mr. Flockhart. It was, I mean, for me, it was when you see somebody on the big screen and then you see them in real life like that, and just the care that he took with him and stuff. It was just, for me, that was just like he won me over right then. You know, and which I was a Star Wars guy when I was younger. So I was kind of into the Star Wars. I never did get into Indiana Jones, but Star Wars, I watched him quite a bit, and a lot of his movies I'd seen. So, but just a super guy. You can't. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. He's a super guy. And I've talked to other people because he used to come into Ronnie's when Ronnie had his place out there on Morningside, and he goes. I think they go to the Jersey Girl some. And I've talked to other people, Hillbilly Cabin. They'll go in there. Yeah. And I've talked to other people, and they are all the same opinion. You know, he's just super unassuming. He's not snotty. I'll tell you this. I was told back when COVID happened, he had gone. I think they were at the hospital because when he was in the restaurant, Kay had fallen. So Kay was in the hospital, Callista's mom, and he went up to the nurse's station, and like I said, this was kind of when COVID was still around, or maybe right when it started. And he went to the nurse's station and says, "Hey, can I get a COVID test? Can you give me a COVID test?" And the nurse that was at the station was young. She didn't know who he was. "I'm sorry, sir, we stopped giving those at 4. And so he didn't get a COVID. He didn't say, "Do you know who I am?" or anything like that. He was like, "Okay, well, thank you," and walked up. And then one of the other older nurses comes and said, "Hey, what did that gentleman want?" She said, "He wanted a COVID test, but I told him we couldn't give him after 4. She said, "Do you know who that was?"
And then she says Harrison Ford. The girl probably still
She
didn't
still
know.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Still didn't know. So there.
Yeah.
So
You know you're getting old.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I probably had to tell you who he was.
Yeah, somebody that was just like your icon when you're growing up,
Yeah,
and then your
absolutely.
kids are like, "Yeah, I don't know who that is."
Yeah, and I've even watched some shows with Callista. I mean, Ally McBeal, of course, you know that's kind of the one that put her on the map, I think, and she's been in a lot of movies. And so once I had that connection with them, I started looking up to see what do they have, you know, what's out there with them. So I started watching some different things like that.
Pretty neat.
So it is neat. It is neat. But Callista's, she's a sweetheart.
Good deal. All right. So, is there anything that we have not covered talking about the Little Dutch that you want people to know?
I think y'all done well with your questions. I mean, the thing that won me over with the Little Dutch is just the history and just being able to be a part of that history. For me, the older I get, the more sentimental I get, and that being a part of that is really important to me at this point in my life. And so that's been one of the, for me, one of the biggest draws to the restaurant. And you know, it's a successful restaurant. We've been there for 84 years,
Right.
and we're going stronger now than we ever have. So you know, we're pleased with that. And George is ecstatic about the direction that we've gone and some of the changes we've made. And we've not changed the menu much, mainly just added stuff. Didn't want to change what they had going. When you got something that's been around for 84 years,
Yeah.
you know, you don't want to mess it up. And that's the first thing people want to do when they take something over is start making their own changes. Well, your own changes has not got that restaurant to where it's at today.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
you know, we were very cognizant of that fact when we took it over. And I don't think we changed a thing for 6 months. And for the next 6 months, I didn't make a change without talking to George first. You know, get his opinion, because he's a restaurant guy.
Yeah.
He's had
It's in
plenty
their
of
blood,
success.
isn't it?
It is. He and Tommy both, and all of Tommy's sons are all operating restaurants.
Right.
So
All right. So we talked about where Dutch at the Dock is. Where is the Little Dutch actually located?
we're at 115 South Cumberland Street, downtown, historic downtown Morristown, and phone number is 423-581-1441. We also have a Facebook page. We also have a website, Little Dutch Morristown, Little Dutch Restaurant.
Just Google Little Dutch.
Google Little Dutch
It'll
Morristown.
get you.
You'll get there
You'll
eventually.
get there.
You'll get there eventually.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for coming. And
Thank y'all for having us.
Yes. Enjoyed
This
it.
was an absolute treat to be
We'll
with
come
you
back
ladies.
and do it again at your restaurant, and we'll sample
That-
everything but the liver.
Everything
Everything
but
but
the
the
liver.
The
Yep,
liver.
we can arrange that. We can arrange that for sure.
all right. Kim and I are going to give everybody a market update. So we're going to give you this opportunity to make your escape, so you don't
Okay.
get bored with it.
Well, you all do your market thing, and thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
having
All
you guys
us.
for
right.
having
Thank
us.
you. We
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
you coming.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Appreciate
You
it.
too, you too.
We might have to go to that Dutch at the Dock and try out that pizza.
The
Come try it out.
atmosphere is fantastic out
Yeah.
there.
Well,
This
I've
is
got
real
family
casual.
for the holidays. We're going to
Really?
maybe do that Friday.
Come try.
Friday.
Come try it. I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, Kim. What can you tell me about mortgage rates
I'm
today?
going to give you one little great piece of good news.
All right. That's what we like.
THDA went to 5.875% today from 6.
Okay.
And if you're the home for the heroes, then you get additional 0.5% off of that, so you can get a 5.375 rate for THDA.
All right. And what's the Homes for Heroes? Tell everybody
That
again.
is anyone who's like in like the medical field, firemen, policemen, things like that. They get that additional, and also it works for veterans as well. With the veteran, you can also get 0.5% off the rate.
So can you combine a VA loan and a THDA to get the better rate?
You can. Some people do that. Some lenders do it. Some don't. So, but yeah, it's definitely an option out there. Yes.
Okay. So what are 30-year rates? About
We're
6.5?
still- We're a little above 6.5.
Okay.
Conventional, FHA, they're all still, mid to upper 6s. And I follow a supposedly an expert, and everything right now. He's saying lock the rates, no floating. So I think it's got some things to do with the Fed meeting again in July and what they think is going to happen and how they think it'll affect our rates.
Well, from what they said last time, they let everything just float last time. And then from what I've heard, again, from so-called experts, I don't know where they get their info, but they say they're anticipating a 1/4 point rise this time, which is kind of against what they thought the Fed was going to do. They thought once they quit raising them, that would be the end of it. But it's like I put on my Facebook, you cannot tell me this country is in a recession with the amount of fireworks that have been shot off this year. I think 3/4 of my neighborhood shot fireworks for like 3 hours last night.
And I don't think they're done.
Oh, they probably won't
I think
be.
it'll go on a few more days.
And I'm not being a Scrooge or anything else. I get it's 4th of July, you want to celebrate. But when you have a small child that needs to be in bed asleep at a certain time, it makes it very difficult.
Or a dog. Hard
Or
for
me.
animals.
I'm old. I like to go to bed when the sun goes down. But now we did stay up July 3rd because, you know, I live in Lakemore, so I'm like right across the highway from Cherokee Park. And I told my mom and dad, I'm like, oh yeah, y'all ought to come over and watch the fireworks with us and stuff. So they came over with Kim Monday night, and we all sat on the porch, and that was Venus's first experience watching fireworks. We tried when she was probably like a year old. Not a good experience. So
She did good this time?
she did good. Like a few of them, you know, make that huge boom, and it scared her. But we just had to convince her, you know, you're safe. They're not going to get you. You don't have to run and hide from them. And she really enjoyed it. So when they started last night, she's like, what's that? And I said, that's fireworks. And she was like, let's go watch the fireworks. And I'm like, no, we're not watching fireworks tonight. Mama has to go to work today or tomorrow. So, all right. So June ended out last Friday. And so I've pulled numbers. I pulled them on Monday, but knew that they would probably change because some people wait a few days to close out their numbers. So I'm still not sure this is 100% accurate because you have agents who are out, you know, for the 4th. But according to what I pulled around noon, we had 54 homes that sold in Hamlin County for the entire month of June. The average sales price was $272,647, and the median sales price was $249,950. So I always try to explain the difference between average and median. You know, if you took math, then you know the average is when you add up all the totals, divide them by the total number. That gives you the average. A median says, based on this range of numbers, this is kind of the in-between number where most of these are falling. So when your average sales price is higher than your median, it typically means that you had a couple of higher priced properties that sold. So the highest priced one that sold in Hamlin County last month was $665,000, and it had been on the market for 267 days.
Wow.
So higher priced homes do take a little bit longer to sell. The average time on the market for June was 19 days, and the median was 1. Okay? So if you are preparing your house correctly, you are pricing it correctly, and it is getting marketed correctly, then you're still going to sell within, you know, 24, 48, 72 hours. I have seen posts from where, you know, the house went on the market that morning. By that evening, it's under contract. And I don't know that you're giving the seller the absolute best deal they can get when you do that because, you know, the more people that can see the house creates a better competition. But anyway, so I did compare that to June of 2022. Last year, we had 66 homes that sold in the month of June. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in June, we were still at 3.5% mortgage rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, to only be down 12 and the interest rate is almost double what it was this time last year, I think that's pretty good.
I think it's very good.
The average sales price last year was $264,000, $227,000. The average days on the market was 54. The median sales price was $258,500 and 26 days on the market. So we've actually improved the time on the market. A lot of that's going to be because the inventory has come down considerably since June of 2022. Right now we have 113 homes that are active and for sale in Hamlin County, and we have 88 that are under contract. So when you take the 88 and you add it to the 54, that gives you, what, 142? And we only have 113 active. So what that tells us is we have less than 1 month of inventory in Hamlin County. So again, the inventory is tight, which means if you do put your home on the market and you take time to prepare it and you price it right, it's probably going to sell fairly quickly if you're under about the $350,000 price point. Homes above that mark are going to take a little bit longer to sell just because you're kind of out of the norm for this area.
Our area.
So,
Definitely.
all right. So the THDA has went down.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking that interest rates are probably going to go up after the Fed meets, right?
That's the talk.
Okay. You know, it's funny how all this keeps changing because, you know, that Barry Habib that we always, you know, we follow, we listen to him, and he kept saying, middle of July, rates are going to come down. Mark my word. Mark my word. And I'm like, dude, we're almost there. They're not coming down.
Yeah.
So that's why we always say the so-called experts, because you just never know if it's going to happen or not. But all right, so we will be back here next week. Make sure you tune in. We'll have another local business here. If you have a business and you would like to be highlighted, please leave a comment, send me a DM. We'd love to get in touch and get you on our schedule. I'm Amy Schrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Union Home Mortgage.